All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our first show of the year 2022. Seems kind of like the same as 2021, but a couple days later. I am your host, Steve Fisher. You can find me on Twitter at @ssfisher87, and I am joined by the bad tattoo hat wearing son of a gun himself, Christopher. I got a new one for you. Pico Phillips. No clue, eh?
Nope. Don't know who Pico is.
Oh,
Oh, we watched it on Christmas Day. And I
it's so good.
was a little busy on Christmas Day.
You know who Pico is?
Nope.
He's the little toucan. Pico the toucan.
Nope. No idea.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to rewatch that one, I guess. I did this. We did the same thing last year on Christmas. We watched Soul on Disney Plus last year on Christmas.
That's a
And
weird show.
same thing though. It's like I have no recollection of watching it because I was up and down, cooking the turkey, basting it, doing all like getting everything ready for dinner. And then this year I was doing the same thing while also dealing with a kid who was barfing his guts out. So
Maybe that's why you didn't remember it.
Yeah, apparently I need to rewatch Encanto. Thanks everyone for tuning in for another episode of the Ball Hawks podcast. You can find me over on Twitter at PhillipsChris12. Don't forget to follow the podcast account at ballhawks_pod. And I actually wasn't listening today because I had something going on in the background. So if in case he didn't mention it, don't forget to follow Steve at ssfisher87.
I actually tried really hard this week to just sort of like rush through it a little bit just to test you, and wouldn't you believe it, you weren't listening.
I had YouTube up in a different tab, and some reason it automatically, because I wanted to make sure that like everything was loading properly and it was the show was gonna show up on YouTube there. Well, it automatically started playing. So you're talking, and then I'm getting like a 2-second delay in my headphones.
That was the sour lemon face look.
Yeah, that's what my like. What is going? Where's that sound coming from?
Hello?
Yeah.
Are you in my headphones?
I'm hearing voices. Steve, there's two of you.
Oh, that's funny. Hopefully you guys had good New Year's other than barfing children, and hopefully everybody, was safe. But I always like to say, be safe, but have fun. Have your fun. Be safe. A fun fact. I'm going to beat you to the fun facts here. This was the first midnight that I have made it to in, I don't even know, maybe over a decade. I cannot remember the last time I made it till midnight, and man, am I still hurting from it today. I'm just not meant for staying up late anymore.
Well, you're 34 now, Steve. So
this is handle my 30s year coming up here.
Yeah, I can't handle it anymore. I believe it or not, even though my kid threw up in her bed at 11:30 on that was the following day. That was on New Year's Day. No, I didn't make it to midnight. No, I think we were close, but like here's how hard I crashed. Whatever time we went to bed, I want to say it was after 11 for sure. Apparently my neighbor was setting off fireworks at 12 o'clock, and my bedroom window faces like his driveway, faces the road where he was setting off the fireworks. Didn't hear a thing. No clue. My daughter, it woke up my daughter because her bedroom also faces their driveway. She came into our room, so my wife had to deal with that, and I was out for the whole thing.
Classic dad sleep.
Yeah, no, midnight did not happen on New Year's Eve, but it did happen on New Year's Day, as I just mentioned with my kid. The other one, my daughter, throwing up on the 1st at 11:30 at night.
There's a lot of things I've learned to handle as a parent, like boogers on you at all times, sneezing in your face, like drool on you, pee, poop, like all of it. Puke is just the one thing that just a little uneasy with it. Like, the worst one I ever had was having my daughter in my arms. This is when she was like super, super little. And she's like, my tummy, because she couldn't really talk that much. So it was just like my tummy. And I was like, oh, weird. Like, let's just go to the bathroom. Like, that seems like a smart, logical parent thing to do. And then I made the cardinal sin move where I got into the hallway and stopped to like reassess the situation. And she puked all over me. Like, this was when I had like super, super long hair. So it was like I had a hoodie on, it filled my hood, it was in my hair. And I'm just standing there and it's all the way down my front. And I've got a kid like still throwing up and I'm just like frozen solid being like, oh, what do I do here? There's like,
just let it happen, Dad.
Yeah, just let it happen. Run into the tub, like full clothes on, like shower it off. Like, what else do you do? But that's the one thing that gets me as a parent. Hey, like,
see, for me, like, I think I may have mentioned this last week, but like when we used to have a dog and the dog would throw up, I couldn't clean up the dog vomit. When the kids are sick, I'm like, yep, kids are sick, gotta deal with it. Go into dad mode and deal with it, sort of thing. But when my daughter had the flu the first time, she was like 14 months. I had to let her puke all over me. Like, she puked on me probably 4 times that day, because the only way that she would she's 14 months old. I can't be like, go puke in the toilet, go puke in a bucket. No, I was like, I had to hold her up on my shoulder and be like, all right, let it go, kid. And it was funny yesterday. I was like, Olivia, come snuggle me on the couch. Like, you're not feeling well. Let's just snuggle. We watched Spider-Man and hung out. And she goes, Daddy, no, it's okay. I'm like, no, like, get over here. Come snuggle me. But Daddy, I don't want to get you sick. And I'm like, kiddo, like, won't you be mad if I get you sick, Dad? I'm like, you're talking to the guy who, when you were 2 years old, you literally puked on my face.
Yeah.
Like, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just another one of those parent moments where it's like, oh, but you're going to get sick. And you're like, yeah, guess what? I'm probably already if you're sick, I'm probably already sick. So
that's the thing I don't understand is my son had it on Christmas Day and then my daughter gets it a week later. So does that mean I'm going to get it next Saturday? Like, how, like, I don't know, the weirdest stomach bug we've had run through our house.
All I know is we're not, doing any sort of hanging out for the next foreseeable future. Anyways,
sorry, you want to invite me over to your house anyways? We were both off all last week, and your
whole family's sick. I'm not getting sick.
Get invited one time.
Yeah, it'll happen. Don't worry. 2022 is a new year, bud.
Hey, I offered to sit in my driveway and drink.
That is true. Okay, let's get into some NFL stuff. Obviously, the first thing we want to bring up is, some sad news. I can't even remember what day that was. My holidays have been a complete blur, but the legendary coach, legendary broadcaster, John Madden passes away, and it kind of has the whole football world kind of reminiscing about his life and his impact on the game and what kind of person he was. And obviously, like, one of the first things I remember as a kid would go to like the Madden games, obviously. I actually think I started playing Madden before I started watching football.
Me too.
And I mean, that was talked about too, where he made football accessible for people. Like, I to this day, I remember when I was in university, that's when I really started getting into like the real specifics of football and like, how does it all work? And like, what am I watching, and trying to, run down plays and stuff like that. And my roommate at the time, he'd been playing Madden forever. And so he taught me how to read defensive coverages and like what kind of offense you would put out and how to look audibles off and stuff like that through Madden. And it made me a better football watcher, for lack of a better term. So that's probably what I would remember John Madden by the most, obviously, in my generation. What would be the one for you?
Steve, we're only a year apart. We're the same generation.
There might be a little cut off there.
For me, it is him as a commentator still. like you said, I played Madden when I was like a 13-year-old kid. I didn't know what I was doing. That was when Madden actually, Madden games used to include a mulligan, which I definitely used a lot as a 13-year-old. But yeah, just as a commentator, just watching Monday Night Football with him and Al Michaels was always kind of probably the first thing that stands out in my mind. Like everyone talks about John and Pat Summerall, but for our generation, Steve, it would be John and Al Michaels. And I remember like the first time I heard like John Madden would take a bus to games. John Madden doesn't like fly. Yeah, John Madden didn't like flying, hated flying actually.
Huh.
So he had like a full tour bus. It would drive across the country to go to game to game to game. And I remember the first time hearing that and just being like mind blown, be like, there's no way. Like, I don't like, I mean, this was, I don't want to say early internet days, but yeah, early-ish internet days where you couldn't just easily Google something and find the answer. And yeah, and like, it made so much more sense when like on the Monday Night Football game, they would do the player of the game and they'd stick his photo on like the side of a trailer basically.
Oh,
and yeah, right. I'm sure you remember that as well. I was trying to, I can't remember what it was called, and I was trying to Google it the other day, but I couldn't come up with anything. And yeah, so those are probably some of my earlier John Madden memories. And like I said, just him commenting Monday Night Football, the Monday Night Football player of the game, and the player being stuck kind of on the side of his trailer. And then of course, I mean, the games. I mean, I still play the game. I still buy the game year after year after year, and everyone's like, "Oh, the game sucks now." And all you people that buy it year after year are idiots. You're just paying $100 for a roster update. Don't care. It's worth it. And it's totally worth it because to me, the games are still great. I still love the games. And I know I tweeted it when he passed away, and I still stand by it. John Madden should absolutely be on the cover of next year's EA Sports Madden game. And like, I would even go a step further, and I would love for them to somehow like include his voice back in the game, include his analysis, his commentating back in the game, which would take a lot of, maneuvering and splicing old tape. But I mean,
they owe it to him.
The tape exists. Why not do it? It would be I think it would be a blast.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I mean, on the cover, 1000% it's going to be him. I don't see any other way around that. That'd be really cool if somehow you could get his analysis back into the game, even if it's, not him and Al or him actually, broadcasting the whole game kind of thing. But maybe it's just like don't you remember like on the earlier ones that used to have like, I haven't played them in so long, I don't even know if they're still there, but it was like, Madden's recommendation or whatever like that. Yeah. And you could have John Madden like talking about why he would recommend that play or something. That would be kind of cool to have that in there. Even just the little Madden snippets, like the one that's been kind of making its way around lately is like him talking about the Gatorade buckets. And we've got the mother Gatorade bucket over here and the father Gatorade bucket here. And like, just like little snippets like that you can include. Like, one of the more famous, I guess, sideline things over the past years has been when Brady was in New England and nobody would give him a high five. He'd be sitting on the bench and no one would give him a high five. They'd all just walk by him. Madden's actually included that in their game now. That's so funny. So like if you have Tom Brady as your quarterback and he passes for a touchdown, they'll show him on the sideline. Nobody will give him a high five. So there's a way that they can take old clips of Madden and integrate it into the game. Yeah, I mean, didn't they do it for years? After Tupac died, they were releasing like new Tupac albums, and it was just like all taking his voice and I think that was old recordings, but I mean, a few years ago I believe it was Coachella, and they had hologram Tupac performing, right? Like, yeah, there's options, there's ways to do it. Yeah, definitely. The next one we want to hit up, this one you wanted to talk about a little more. I got a pretty easy answer on this, but obviously there was some rumbling over the past week of college football players opting out of the bowl games. And you just had a couple questions here, like, is it a big deal? Do NFL teams look down on these players? And do they not like football? I can't remember who said that, but like
Kirk Herbstreit.
oh yeah. So I'll let you take this one away to start.
No, it's not a big deal. Like I saw a bunch of people being like, "Oh, these guys quit on their team," and the question of do NFL teams look down on these players? Well, I saw somebody on Twitter like tweet something along those lines, being like, NFL teams don't want these players. Like they quit on their team. They're proving that they are quitters and they don't want to be there and they don't want to compete in the big games and this and that. And like, I'm like, no, the NFL teams don't care. And like one guy's like, yeah, they do. Like it's a business. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It is a business. And these college athletes are he said something about like college football being a business. I'm like, yeah, it is a business. And these college athletes don't get any of the money that these schools make hand over fist. So they're taking care of their business before they get hurt.
A little bit now, right?
But that's not usually... but that's not to do with the school or the NCAA. They can do the nil agreements, the name, image, likeness agreements, and sign contracts with companies to make a little bit of money that way.
Yeah, I just thought I'd point that out, that it's not 100%. They don't make any money. Like, Reggie Bush would have still been allowed to have his Heisman Trophy kind of idea if he played in this era.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He just wanted to make money for what he was doing.
Yeah, right. For, the millions and millions of dollars that he was bringing into USC, he wanted, a little bit to be able to feed himself and his family. Totally. How dare he? And it's just... These players need to take care of themselves. And I mean, how many times have you seen a player get hurt in these meaningless bowl games? And that's the thing. We're not talking about the national championship. We're talking about like, it's the Rose Bowl. Like, sure, it's a very prestigious college football game. And everyone always talks about the Rose Bowl. But at the end of the day, if it's not the national championship, it's a meaningless bowl game. It's just an extra game for the team, for the colleges to make extra money. And how many times have you seen these guys get hurt and their draft stock just plummet because of it?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, for me, this is an absolute no-brainer. If you're playing in the Alamo Bowl, who I'm just looking through, Oregon and Oklahoma this year, the Alamo Bowl, who cares? It's one game. It's literally one game. Nothing matters in that game. Like, for me, I don't think if I'm a talent evaluator, if I'm an NFL scout, if I'm an NFL GM, head coach, I look at that and I say, oh, no. That guy don't like football. We can't have him in. Like, I'm going to look at his collective work and then I'm going to say to myself, why would this young man have opted out of this bowl game? Like, what were his reasons? Ask him. If he's just like, yeah, I didn't want to get hurt. To ruin a potential like top 15 draft pick. Like, let's say his agent, and I mean, agents say a lot of weird stuff to college players when they're representing them. But let's say your agent is, in the right frame of mind and says, you know what, you're going to be probably a projected top 15 to top 20 pick. Don't play in the bowl game. Because if you get hurt, you're probably looking at like a top 50 pick, top 75 pick, because teams are going to wait on you. That's the difference between millions of dollars. Like, this is their livelihood. If my job entailed that I could get hurt and I wouldn't get paid if I went in, I might skip one of those things, especially if it was like, I don't want to call it an optional day, but it kind of is an optional day. Until you're paying these guys livable wages, you can't expect that they're going to play in that game. Like, yeah, for me, it's a hard, like, I don't really care. Like, so, it doesn't. If you're in the playoffs, if you're in the playoffs, that's different to me, because you're chasing a big championship. Like, these Rose Bowls, like, yeah, they're like this it's like a wrap up game at the end of a season in high school. Like, nobody cares. Nobody's gonna put too much stock into that. But like, if you were an Alabama player and you didn't go to the semifinals because you're like, well, I've done well all year and I'm probably a top 10 pick, I think I'll just quit now. yeah, we might be talking another player who quit on his team. That's more where I would go with that kind of analysis.
I mean, I went back. I was trying to find guys that have opted out of bowl games before and have it, some big name players. I couldn't find anything specific because everything, of course, was talking about the 3 players from Ohio State and everything that just happened this past weekend. But I mean, Micah Parsons and Jamar Chase both opted out of the entire season last year due to COVID. They're doing all right. Looking at probably the offensive and defensive rookie of the years.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa got hurt in his last year at Ohio State. He got hurt. I think it was in like a game in October. He suffered a core muscle injury and decided like, yeah, I'm going to get surgery. And you know what? I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
Like I'm done. I'm opting out. Like I'm thanks guys. But I'm done playing football for Ohio State Buckeyes. He was the 2nd overall draft pick. So to say
my body of work has shown itself to be enough. Like that's what the purpose of college football is to display yourself to be drafted or picked up as a UDFA by an NFL team. So like if you think you've already done that, it's no different than like I can't remember what the rules are, but let's say like a junior decides to declare for the NFL draft instead of coming back for his senior season. Should we all be like, oh, that guy don't like football? Like this guy's such a quitter on his college football team. Like, would he do that to us? It's like, no, yeah. So I totally get that. Players need to look out for their best interest because we hear this time and time again through the NFL that the NFL is a business. These are business decisions. Well, guess what the player's business is? Their body, their mind. That's the business. You are the business. Take care of your business at all costs. That's why, like, the Ravens have had a pretty good track record of losing a lot of free agents, like higher end players, because they're always up against salary cap because they can't sign everybody. And every year I always see fans that are like, oh, maybe he'll take a discount to come play with us. Oh, this guy's so great. I can't believe he wouldn't do that to be on like a championship team. And my thought process is go get your money. Go get your money, young man. You've worked hard for this. You're putting a lot of things on the line, including your life, including like, the way you handle your day-to-day stuff. Like we can look no further than like Ryan Shazier, who's still like, he just never played football ever again. I bet you he would have liked to sign a mega deal because in my opinion, he was the best middle linebacker that year. Like he was the standard. You could argue Bobby Wagner was still in there, but like Ryan Shazier was this new young kind of gold standard of middle linebackers. One play, he doesn't make any more money for the rest of his career. So go get your money while you can. All right, let's get into some fun ones. Here's a couple drama ones. I was actually going to save this for my recap of the Ravens versus Rams, but it's too good not to. I don't know if you have the clip for it at all. If you didn't download, okay. So I was watching this, and before they showed it, I was half paying attention because my kids were running around like maniacs, but it for sure caught my eye. All of a sudden, there's like this skirmish in the Rams defense. Well, they're on the field. And I was like, what just happened there? And I'm like, oh, whatever. Like maybe they were just, when guys like are frantic trying to get the play call in and they throw each other around to like get to, whoever's wearing the green dot is kind of pushing the guys around and telling them where to go. I thought that's kind of what it was. Turns out Jalen Ramsey punched his teammate. Kind of punched or like open palm, like smacked him upside the head, and they had to be separated on the field. Now, obviously, that's like some major dysfunction, and I had a good conversation with this guy on Twitter who was like, isn't it funny how people always talked about Marcus Peters? Like that was like his big thing, being like a bad teammate or like a suspect teammate, and he got replaced by Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
My question for you before we get into like the actual punch is, should he not have been ejected for that?
No.
He threw a punch.
No.
He threw a punch.
No.
On the field.
No.
So it's okay. It's okay to punch guys as long as it's your own teammates.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, you got to explain that one because
I just,
we're gonna, you know.
it's when you punch a guy on the opposing team, usually like you're like something's led up to that moment. It's like a volcano ready to erupt, and you finally hit that guy. It didn't look like that was happening with Ramsey and Taylor Rupp. Like obviously they had a disagreement. Taylor Rupp or whatever his name is probably said something to Jalen Ramsey that Ramsey didn't like, and he gave him a shot to the face. Like, get out of here with that sort of thing. Like no, you can fight with your own teammates all you want in my opinion. I mean, I guess there is a certain point where it does cross a line, but I don't think what he did there in that scenario crossed any sort of lines.
Okay. My big thing would be like, if you want to eliminate, so our buddy Ryan from the PP1 podcast, same like a fight in practice. It was a game, so it's televised.
Yeah, that's probably a good analogy. It's just like fighting your own teammates in practice. Like it's just, yeah, things just came to a head, and I don't know. I don't see it as being a big deal. It's yeah.
I don't know, man. Like
it's like fighting with your brothers. It's like, how many times did you fight with your brothers and your mom yells at you, "Don't do that again," and you do it again, and like you don't get in any more trouble the second time than you did the first time.
Okay, but how about this one? Last week we talked about Deron Payne putting his hand in another guy's face, and my reaction was like, yeah, it's on. Like it's on. You don't do that. There's no difference here. The only difference is he had a helmet on. I would say maybe it's even worse because they're literally in the middle of a play. Like they're in the middle of a play. If my teammate punches me or smacks me upside the head in the middle of a play, we're we're throwing. There's something you don't do. Like if you want to do that at practice, fine. I'm probably still gonna like lose it on you. You're a grown ass man punching another grown ass man. There's got to be you cannot wear the C on a jersey if your leadership way is smacking a guy upside the head in the middle of a play. Like, I'm sorry. That is not leadership qualities to me. That's somebody having a little temper tantrum and not being able to use your words to like be an adult. Like literally adult behavior. You do not put your hands on another human being.
Right, but that wasn't the question. The question was, should he be ejected? No, he shouldn't.
Sure, it was a punch in the middle of a game.
Nah.
Well, then they shouldn't. Why eject a guy for punching a different guy on the field? Then it's a difference. It's just it's just like your brother. Punch him, you're fine.
It's different.
I don't know. I don't think so. Anyways, I'm sure we could just sit here and disagree with like it's different. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not.
It's just like I said, it's just it is different. Like when you punch a player on the opposing team, that can create a lot of animosity between the two teams for the remainder of the game. You hit a guy on your own team, it's not like all of a sudden you're gonna see offensive linemen on the same team fighting with each other because Jalen Ramsey punched Taylor Rapp. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna. It's gonna fizzle really quick when it's two teammates.
I feel like that's even more of a knock on the Rams as a whole. Like if I'm a leader on that team, obviously not an offensive lineman because they're on the sideline or something like that. But if I'm Aaron Donald and I wear the C, I walk up to Jalen Ramsey, stand in front of him and say, grow the you-know-what up. Grow up. We're trying to win a football game. We're trying to get to the playoffs. We're trying to make a championship run. You're putting that in jeopardy right now by like all of these things could be grieved, on the sideline talking about it like adults, or wait until halftime, or behind closed doors. It's even more acceptable to do that kind of stuff where like just tensions boil over. But like in the middle of a game, like, I don't know. I think that's poor leadership, and I think there's, maybe he shouldn't have gotten kicked out of the game. I don't really care. My big thing with it is poor leadership. He's wearing the C on his jersey for that team, and if I'm on that team, I look at that and say, oh, that's how we deal with things. So every time like you piss me off, I just punch you. Okay, cool. Well, Aaron Donald's killing a bunch of dudes at that rate. He might just murder everybody on that team. Anyways, let's move on to a different one, because I'm sure this one will take most of our time. There's some really funny things that we got to talk about with this one. It kind of lit Twitter up yesterday, lit the football world up, and that was Antonio Brown taking his pads off, throwing it into the bench, taking his jersey or his undershirt off, his gloves, chucking them into the stands, and then walking through the field of play, waving goodbye to the Bucks fans, kind of doing like this side shuffle step, and then jogged off the field. And so I'm going to let you have another first crack at this one, because I can tell you're ready to go off here. So,
and then he went and changed, went and called an Uber and stood outside the stadium waiting for an Uber, which is hilarious. Like the temper tantrum of all temper tantrums. I mean, again, to, Ryan just mentioned it about the two teammates fighting each other. I'm sure things like that happen all the time in practice, where guys get pissed off at the coach and they, storm off the field, throw their helmet and walk away or whatever.
And maybe everyone's preseason a lot, actually, where guys get kicked out of practice because like something heats over, right? It's actually not that uncommon.
No, but like, maybe everyone's talking about this because it happened on live TV in the middle of a game, and the guy literally threw his pads, ran through the end zone. Like, I think play not going on when he ran through the end zone.
Yeah, there's the meme where he's kind of got his hands up like this, and you can see like both teams behind like are just coming out of like the huddle, it looks like.
Yeah. So it's just I mean, unbelievably, what you want to talk about immaturity and having a temper tantrum. Antonio Brown showcased that for the whole world yesterday. Obviously, there's probably some sort of there is some underlying mental health issues there. I'm sure that he needs to deal with, or traumatic brain injury that he needs to deal with, or what have you. But how can you not watch that video? And for me, it was seeing him outside of the stadium, and everyone's like, "Oh, like that's fake." But if you like zoom in the background, you can see like the New York Jets like banners hanging up in the background.
Yeah, it was not fake.
Yeah, it was like and then the Uber driver that picked him up like jumped on Instagram Live. Is I'm here with Antonio Brown right now.
Like, here's our boy AB.
And then he drops a rap track or album or song or whatever it's called, or like people are like, did he just do that to like get himself a bunch of publicity before he drops his rap album? Like
maybe maybe he's on a whole other level of clowning the rest of the world. Like he's
on a whole other level, that's for sure.
He's got this all planned out. That would be pretty hilarious if that was actually it. My favorite Twitter, I actually screenshotted these so I wouldn't forget them. My favorite Twitter responses to this, the golfer Brooks Koepka, he said, "Hot take: AB will fight a Paul brother before the year is over." And then Michael David Smith says, "Mike Tomlin tolerating Antonio Brown for 9 seasons is one of the great coaching achievements in NFL history." It's so true, though. Like, how Mike Tomlin got this guy and Le'Veon Bell in the same room to be a productive and very dangerous team that probably had all the recipes to go to a Super Bowl. How he held that locker room together is like next level coaching stuff. Like that's just wild to me.
Not that I follow the AFC North too closely. AB was relatively normal until Vontaze Burfict broke his brain.
Maybe that one's hard for me to tell. Like, how many shots do you take in football? Year after year after year after year. That one's kind of hard for me to say one shot kind of took it all out of you.
I'm not like, the shot that, the straw that broke the camel's back, maybe, like
possibly,
right? Like that not when he got knocked out by Burfict, like that seemed to change everything, right?
Yeah, possibly. Like maybe that was, like you said, who knows? I'm not a brain doctor. Like it very well could be. My favorite part of that whole video though is watching Mike Evans hold his jersey on, like talks to him, is like, put your jersey back on, then holds his jersey, and then on the third time is just like, okay, screw it, I don't like, be a child.
There's only so much you can do and say before you have to be like, whatever, man, sink your ship.
Yeah,
like, I'm not having any part of it. Good luck.
You went to the perfect situation, got a Super Bowl ring out of it, are probably looking at a very strong possibility of a second Super Bowl ring. Not that he needs the money, but how he was so close to 3 incentives that were worth, a combined almost $1 million. Yeah, I guess my initial thoughts, and I put this in our Google Hangouts chat with the boys. I hope this dude can find the help he needs, because I don't know if you saw Tom Brady's response to it, but there's a guy who gets it. And this is hard for me to say, because I keep wanting to hate Tom Brady still, because I still think of him as, the AFC East guy that the Ravens had to go through and whines on the field all the time. But between throwing a Lombardi from, boat to boat and being the first person to step up and just say, like, we need to have compassion for Antonio Brown as he's going through this stuff. That's how yes, it's funny. It is funny. And, AB is even laughing at it. Like, you can see in the Uber ride on the way out, he's like, he's loving it. He's loving the attention. He's like, you can tell he doesn't care. But I hope like whoever his support network is, I just really hope they're behind this guy 1000%, because you are right, Chris. There's something not right. Whatever it is, something is not right. And hopefully he can get the help he needs.
Did you see the Joe Burrow quote? I think it was either today or yesterday about Jamar Chase.
I think I remember seeing something, but remind me.
So, I mean, of course, after it was either before the draft or after the draft, and everyone's like, if the Bengals don't take a left tackle, like, they're screwed, and Joe Burrow's going to be under pressure all season, and he's just going to have to go, F it, Jamar's down there somewhere.
So, I did see that.
In his press conference, he goes, yeah, you guys have all seen the meme. Like, F it, Jamar's down there somewhere. Like, after Jamar's 3 touchdown game yesterday, which I don't know. I love that stuff when the players show their personality and their human side.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, as much as I dislike the Bengals because they're an AFC North rival, I was talking with our buddy Liam here, who's a big Bengals fan. They're exciting to watch. Like, football as a pure football take, the game, the NFL game is better to watch when that team is on, like, in the game playing, because they're just so electric. Like, they were, I was obviously following box scores in that game. They were down, I think it was like when I looked, it was 28-14 or whatever. And I was like, yes, the Bengals are going to lose. Like, this is what, and the Ravens were obviously dominating, or at least leading the game at the time. And I was like, yes, this is exactly what I need to happen for my team to have a chance. And wouldn't you know it, I'm just looking here. It was 28-17 at half. So they'd kicked another field goal before half there. And then they put up 17 points over the Chiefs 3 points. So like the team is just so damn powerful on offense. Like you've got a stud quarterback, you've got a stud running back, you've got probably 3 stud wide receivers. Like I guess the first thing I would say is like, I know we did takes on like, during the draft last year, and we, both of us were like, they need an offensive tackle. Like I would not go Jamar Chase. I would go Penny Sewell. Well, I was wrong. I was wrong. I was clearly wrong. I'm okay, looking back on that and saying like, damn, you guys made the right choice. Like you for sure made the right choice because Jamar Chase is just ridiculous. He fits that offense well. He fits what Joe Burrow wants to do. And pairing him with all those other guys, like it's going to be a tough team to stop. That's all I can say. That's a legit Super Bowl contender in that team because at any point they can score on you with, 30 to 40 seconds. So, but this is not a Bengals podcast. Who dey? They're the Ravens that we talk about. See what I did there? Stupid Bengals.
Ryan wants to know what I miss. I was putting honey mustard on some French fries. Ryan, I saw the way you put honey mustard on your smile face French fries, and I don't know, but it looks like you're having a bukkake party over there.
Wow. Wow. I was just going to say it looked reminiscent of his frozen mustache picture and leave it at that. But Chris wanted to go X-rated here. Holy. Kids, if you didn't already put your earmuffs on, make sure you put your earmuffs on when Chris is talking on the Ballhawks podcast. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth next.
BBHV.
All right. I made you go first last week, and you didn't want to, so it's only fair if I make myself go first. Ravens, Rams. Ravens lose, another nail biter. Wouldn't you know it? Shocker. The Ravens lose by a point. Longest losing streak of the John Harbaugh era. This is probably the most frustrating loss I can remember. I was just trying to think of it before we jumped on. Like, what was more frustrating, or what was the loss that really got to me before this? I'm thinking, when the Bengals eliminated the Ravens on Tyler Boyd's big 4th down catch from Andy Dalton. I'm thinking of Christmas Day where Antonio Brown reached out over the goal line to end the Ravens season. This one was maybe equally as frustrating because the season is on the line. And it's a tale of two halves. First half comes out and they look like a team that's going to just absolutely control the game. They're going to dominate the Rams. And they're going to be in a good position to get a wild card playoff berth. The defense, for some reason, Chuck Clark has an early pick 6. It's the first picks, or I think it was the first interception. I'd have to go back and look. First interception since almost a year ago by Chuck Clark. That's how few interceptions the Ravens get. The defense was missing more players again. Wouldn't you know it? Our rookie pass rusher, star rusher, Odafe Owe was out. Our remaining best cornerback, Anthony Averett, was out. They're just depleted again. They got some more people back off of COVID, but this was one of those ones where if you were a betting person, and, I said this on our fantasy cast last week, start every Ram receiver because the Ravens have no secondary and they're just going to feast. Well, man, did they shut me up in the first half. Like, did they ever shut me up in the first half? Chuck Clark has the pick 6, but he also has a second interception of the half. The defense held this team in all game. And earlier today, I had this conversation with a guy about the defense giving up the game late in, the last minute drive, the defense gives it up. And I'm like, are you out of your damn mind? This defense gave up. I don't count the PATs. I count the PATs with the pick six. The offense scored 12 points. The defense scored 7. That's all there is to it. Like if you would have told me, Chris, hey Steve, the LA Rams with Cooper Kupp, with Odell Beckham, with Van Jefferson, Matthew Stafford throwing them the ball, a red hot Sony Michel, Tyler Higbee's been a good weapon for them. By the way, your defense is going to hold them to 20 points and they're going to score 7 for you. I would have said, let's go, baby. There's an easy W. Like they did everything they could have done to win this game. I don't care if they gave it up at the end. They gave it up, but the offense still had a chance to march it back down the field and score and win. This is, I think, the third week in a row I've said in the first half, Rashaad Bateman was used early and often. And wouldn't you believe it? That's a recipe for success. You drafted this receiver in the first round to be a playmaker. Let him make plays. But again, the offensive identity kind of got thrown out the window. And I didn't see Rashaad Bateman being utilized like he did early. Tyler Huntley had a really strong first half. We couldn't punch the ball in the Rams red zone, but I thought he played well. Like he played well for a backup. I thought he was put in some unnecessary situations. He did make one really silly play right at the very end of the half. He tosses up a ball to Marquise Brown on the sideline. He thought Marquise Brown was cutting back. Marquise Brown kept going. The Rams ran the ball back for like 30, 40 yards, and then they scored 7 points. I thought that was kind of the turning point of the game. But again, he's a backup quarterback with a handful of starts. You kind of have to expect that he's going to make these little mental errors that, inexperienced quarterbacks will do. I thought he played well. Bad decision there. Mark Andrews is a beast. This guy is unfreaking believable. In the first half, I think it was the first half or maybe early into the third quarter, he surpassed Michael Jackson, not the singer, but the former Ravens wide receiver. He beat his all-time single season receiving yards for a franchise history there, with only 1,201 yards. That is the most yards a single player has ever put up for the Baltimore Ravens. That was done in 1996. So that's, a 25-year record that fell, and wouldn't you believe it, to a tight end of all people, tight end breaks it. And then I was looking at some stuff earlier yesterday and today. Mark Andrews is only 140 receiving yards away from breaking the NFL tight end record held by Travis Kelce. And, we talked about, is Andrews tight end number 1 right now? And I think some people will still argue that Travis Kelce is, because he's been putting up 1,000 plus, 1,400 yard seasons for the last 6 or 7 years. And I get that. I would agree with that. Chris, you made the argument that George Kittle, when he's on the field, and if he could stay healthy, he would be, ahead of Mark Andrews. But I know it's a 17th game that they get, but if he breaks that record, maybe he's not tight end number 1 year after year, but this season right now, he is the best tight end in the NFL for sure. I think availability matters.
It does, but I think for that conversation, it needs to be consistency too. I mean, as much as availability matters, so does consistency. Mark Andrews has been consistent, but this has been a career year for him, right?
Sure. Well, that's what I mean. If we're talking about who is the best tight end, just overall, probably it's the 1, 2, 3 conversation now. This year, he is the best tight end. There's nobody that can tell me different because he's leading in receptions. He's leading in yards. I think he's tied for touchdowns now because I think Travis Kelce got one. He's number 6 in the NFL for receiving yards. Just a handful behind Deebo Samuel. He's ahead of Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs. Like, that's pretty impressive. And when I think about it even more, the last 3 games, he's had 2 games from Tyler Huntley and 1 from Josh Johnson. So, like, again, he hasn't got that extra shove like Mahomes would. You know, Mahomes is going to pass for 50 to 60 times. So I just thought I'd give my boy Mark Andrews a little extra love. He's phenomenal. I'm so glad they're utilizing this guy because when he makes those plays, it's just like a momentum booster. Like, he's so animated when he makes those plays that like the whole team kind of rallies around him. And I absolutely love him. There was a funny little screenshot that I can't remember who I screenshotted it. I can't remember who posted this on Twitter, but I do remember seeing this. It went to the NFL ranks for the defense, or sorry, for the offense for the Baltimore Ravens. First in rushing, 32nd in passing. It's like, I don't know whether to be pissed off or whether I should be impressed that they're able to do that somehow. Like, how do you manage to be the best rushing team in the absolute worst? Sorry, that was my bad. That was on defense.
That's just that was the defense. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it was the defense. So they're number 1 in rushing yards. So they're a wall up front. I think on the fantasy cast, that's why we said probably wouldn't start Sony Michel. And 32nd in passing. It's pretty comical, actually. Like, you know what you have to do against this team. Why are you even trying to run the ball on them? Just throw every play, I guess. Kind of like the exact opposite of the Patriots strategy. Just a couple more things. I'll be quick with this. There was a few plays where in zone or man, I still couldn't figure out what they were in. The closest person to Cooper Kupp was middle linebacker Patrick Queen. If you put a middle linebacker, an outside linebacker, a defensive end, a D tackle, a safety, if you put any of those people on the NFL's leading wide receiver in receptions, targets, yards, and touchdowns, you're going to lose a football game. There's no other way to get around that. I couldn't believe that they had him dialed up as the person in that coverage. Like, they should have been doubling Cooper Kupp like they did with Devontae Adams. I was absolutely flabbergasted that they would do that. And then the final one, there's a lot of rumblings whether Greg Roman should be fired. I think I'm finally on the train that he just needs to go. I think he's run his course in that team. I think he's run his time with what he can do for the offense. And I think just a different system. You take the good things that you liked from his run schemes, and you put a fresh mind in there that's going to evolve this offense a little bit forward. I'm going to leave it at that because I've been rambling for a little while, and everybody who probably heard that has already commented. I was on Twitter a lot with that one, so I think I had lots to say on that. But if you want to hit me up on Twitter at ssfisher87, I would love to have that conversation with you. Yeah. Now on to you, Chris. You got a big W today. You got a big W yesterday.
I got a big W today too.
Good for you. Like an A&W burger? Or
I didn't. I had to go to work today like a sucker. I know.
I'll be there tomorrow. Don't worry.
I don't get the cushy teacher life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seahawks, came out against the Detroit Lions and dropped a 50 burger on them, 51-29, which I don't want anyone coming at me. Yeah, well, it's the Lions and they're this. I don't care. Don't care. good teams should beat up on the bad teams, and that's that. I mean, the fact that the Seahawks gave up 29 points is, I think, too much, but whatever. Garbage time points to a garbage time team, as far as I'm concerned. They started the game 0 for 2, which I guess I got the benefit of time with this episode. Russell Wilson on the first drive went 0 for 2. They had a 3-and-out. He came out with no gloves on. Second drive, he was wearing 1.5 gloves. So he had a full glove on his non-throwing hand, on his left hand. On his right hand, he had a glove, but he cut off all the fingers except for his middle finger on his right hand, which is the finger that, of course, he injured earlier in this season. So he was wearing 1.5 gloves, and after starting the game 0 for 2, he finished the game 20 for 27. He had 4 touchdown passes. I can't remember how many yards he finished with. Doesn't matter. A lot. Less than Joe Burrow, but like a lot. So, yeah, the Seahawks was good. I was happy. One of the other first things that I noticed as well about this game was DK Metcalf's body language. He looked like he didn't want to be there.
Oh, really?
Like,
actually, I think I saw you tweet something like that.
I did, yeah. He didn't want, like, he was just, I don't know, like, even with his dark visor on, and like even when it was like his back turned to the camera, like just his body language was like head down. I don't want to be here. Going through the motions, like he would, it was a running play, and like he was ended up on the turf somehow, and he's, I don't know, just like got up a little slower than like normal for DK Metcalf, and kind of sauntered back to the huddle, and at one point.
Maybe they need him to be like that. Didn't he get 2 touchdowns?
3.
Oh yeah, he got the third one too. Maybe
3.
They need to be like DK. Just chill. Just go out there like you don't care, and we'll find you some touchdowns.
Right? Like, hey, we're not going to throw you the ball at all this week, and then all of a sudden he ends up with 3 touchdowns. So yeah, so I don't know. It was pretty weird. Like even at one point, like during the huddle, like it looked like he just kind of like walked past Russell Wilson. Like they didn't even really look at each other. It felt like. So I don't know. Hopefully, it's just nothing. Hopefully it's nothing, honestly.
Yeah.
Touchdowns make everything feel better, of course, and he had 3 of them, so that certainly helps. But it was just, I don't know, it was weird, and there was a few other people that were, I mean, even like Gus Johnson and Aqib Talib were talking about his body language as well. They didn't quite go as far as I did, saying it doesn't look like he wants to be there, but yeah, some about his body language was kind of off all game long. It felt like, and I don't know, maybe he's just getting frustrated with the lack of plays, lack of touches. Maybe I'm not quite sure. I mean, I would still love to see them give him some sort of jet sweep or end around or something like that. They gave Tyler Lockett one. He scored a touchdown. They gave D. Eskridge one. He went for like 30 yards and got tackled at the 1-yard line, like right at the end of the game. So, which actually was kind of funny. So, Eskridge got tackled at the 1-yard line, and the Seahawks just set up in victory formation from that point forward. The fans were booing.
Really?
I mean, the Seahawks are up 51-29, and the fans are booing that they're not scoring more points. I mean, it is the last home game of the season. I guess you
punch
want
that baby in. Punch that baby in.
I mean, I was certainly being like, all right, put Rashaad Penny back on the field, let him get another touchdown.
You grease monkey.
I was doing the same thing when Ugo Amadi got I think it was his first career interception, but he ended up like fumbling it, and like it was a disaster. But all I could think about was like, all right, I don't want this to be a pick 6, but like get it to like the 10-yard line so Rashaad Penny can come in and score another touchdown. So guess who Chris had on his fantasy team in championship week this past week. So
double W.
Yeah, guess who's a champion
here, though, Chris. You had said something about DK maybe because he wasn't, like, he's not being utilized or not getting the touches he wants. he's 20th in the NFL for total targets. So like, I was thinking that same thing. I'm like, okay, is it because of touches? Well, he's got the 20th most. Like maybe that's not enough for him, but he should realize that like they run the ball a lot, and he's got a crazy good weapon on the other side of him in Tyler Lockett. Could this be a young guy, came into the league, took the league by storm, went to the playoffs, like get to the playoffs in your first year? You think that's just how the NFL goes? You know, I wonder if it's because it's been such a losing season, and like a young guy not being able to like jump over that hurdle of like, oh, we're not actually going to win all the time. Like, I don't know. I just wonder about that. I always wondered about that with young, like when rookies win the Super Bowl in their first year, and they're just like, oh, this is what the NFL is like. Year one, we just win Super Bowls. Yeah, I just wonder if that's what it is for him.
Yeah, I mean, and he did say something somewhat along those lines today in his press conference, as you know, still a young player in this league. I still have a lot to learn, a lot of growth this season and maturity this season, but I still have room for more. And so yeah, there is definitely some room for maturity and growth on his end for sure. Speaking of the guy on the other side there, Tyler Lockett, he set a career single season high with 1,076 receiving yards. Of course, there's one more game for him to add on to that, which I saw that I was like, really? Like this is like 1,000, and he's never hit 1,100, which kind of shocks me. I mean, last year he had 100 catches.
Yeah, you just think of him as like 1,000-yard receiver all the time, right?
Yeah, year after year. Yeah, he had 100, I think 101 catches last year. I think it was something like that. So for him to have that many catches and not break 1,100 yards is somewhat shocking.
Of course, he has a career year after I trade him in fantasy football.
Your favorite player too.
I know I got Damian Harris out of it, so I think I did all right on that one. That was a really fair trade.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Jake Curhan, who is an undrafted, yeah, exactly. He's an undrafted free agent, rookie right tackle. He's played the last few weeks now. I want to say the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I think the Seahawks may have found their right tackle of the future. I mean, he's inexpensive. He's playing well. He's got a little bit of work to do, probably, in my opinion, anyways, in pass protection. But he's an absolute mauler in the run game, which, I mean, what does Pete Carroll love? Running the ball.
Like a young DK, like a young fluker, hey?
Yeah, like just absolute mauler. So, I mean, that's one guy I'm excited to see his growth and development in the offseason and see what he can do, you know, next year with potentially a full season of games ahead of him. Let's talk about Rashaad Penny.
Sure.
Like, where has this been? I mean, again, he hasn't been healthy his entire career, basically. But, like, where has this guy been? This is the reason, like, these last 4 games, maybe not so much the Rams game, is the reason why the Seahawks made him a first-round draft pick. It's unfortunate it's taken 4 seasons for him to, you know, show that, you know, hey, guys, this is what I can do, and this is why I was drafted where I was drafted. A lot of people Rashaad himself are actually crediting Adrian Peterson for kind of putting him in, you know, where he needs to be and showing him how to run the ball and be more effective with his touches. And there's a lot of people on Seahawks Twitter being like, hire Adrian Peterson as our running back coach, like bring him back. And it doesn't sound like you were watching the game, but they showed AP on the Seahawks sideline. Just in his street clothes. He's been placed on IR, so he's done for the year. There he is on the sideline, street clothes, big old dip in his mouth.
Again, that's what I want my coach.
That guy would probably play football with a dip in if he could.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So I just, like, the Seahawks didn't pick up Rashaad Penny's 5th-year option, so he's a free agent after this year. And
that makes sense why they wouldn't have in the offseason, right? Like,
oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean,
no way you were paying him that much money after that body of work.
I mean, he got hurt this year. He had a stint on at least one stint on the IR this year.
Yeah.
So it's there's no way that God, if they had picked up his 5th-year option in the offseason, people would have been losing their minds. But now here we are, and it's just like, well, should they bring him back?
Yeah.
Which I think absolutely they should. Cut Chris Carson, which, I mean, Chris Carson's career might be over anyways. But if you cut Chris Carson, it's only $3 million in dead cap. The Seahawks are going into the next season with the 7th most cap space. I say sign Rashaad Penny to a 2 or 3 year deal. He's only going to be, I think, 26. So he's hitting like the prime year, like 26, 27, 28 are like typically the prime running back years, which I don't know why I'm air quoting that, because I mean Rashaad Penny's kind of proving that it's the prime years of a running back. I say bring him back if you can, if you can afford to.
What are you offering him if you want that, like, providing he wants to accept a 2 or 3 year deal?
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing, is like he's got to think about his long term stability, but like, why not do a 3 year or maybe even a 4 year, but like the final year of the contract is a voidable year, and like $4 to $4.5 million per year.
Yeah, I would say with a guy like that, anytime I would have a player who is like injury laden, when he's on the field and healthy, he can help your team, worried that he's going to stay on the field. I think any deal in the $4.5 million, that's getting pretty expensive for, a mid to late 20s running back who has really had a good third of a season. I think you have to do that as an incentive base where it's like, okay, you can make up to $4.5 million. Like if you eclipse 1,000 yards rushing, if you play more than 90% of the snaps, like there would, for me anyways, there would have to be a lot of those bonus laden incentives in that contract for me to take $4.5 million. But maybe that's what it takes to keep a guy like that. You never know, right?
That's what I mean. It's like, I mean, there's no hiding that they've been showcasing him these last 4 games. If the Seahawks aren't going to pay, like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's another team out there that were willing to pay him more.
There's suitors,
right? There's going to be suitors for him,
yeah.
for sure, right? I mean, Jacksonville, maybe.
I mean, they're going to get Travis Etienne back, so.
Yeah, but they're going to be without James Robinson probably. But like
they weren't using him anyways, so
yeah. The Jets, the Bucks.
Urban Meyer wasn't using them.
Yeah, I don't know. There's going to be suitors regardless,
for sure.
And then of course the big question is the final home game of the Seahawks season. Is this the last that we see of Russell Wilson and Bobby Wagner in a Seahawks jersey in Seattle? Which Bobby's the bigger question mark, I would say, which is really unfortunate. Like, he got hurt on literally the first play of the game. Turns out he sprained his MCL and PCL, so no surgery required, but he's not going to play in the last game of the year either. So we may have seen the last of Bobby Wagner in a Seahawks jersey. And the reason why he's kind of the one that is the bigger question mark is he has a $20 million cap hit next year, but only $3 million in dead cap if they cut him.
Ooh.
Tough. That's tough, right? For a what is he, a 33-year-old linebacker?
Yeah, 32 or 33,
something like that, right? So that's a tough one to swallow. And unfortunately, especially with him being injured now, might be writing on the wall. But I don't know, maybe they try and restructure him and bring him back. But Cody Barton also stepped in and filled in admirably. Jordan Brooks is a middle linebacker by trade. So maybe they put Jordan Brooks into that spot and look at, maybe moving Daryl Taylor off the line back to an outside linebacker, because that's technically what he is by trade, but I disagree with that. Maybe look at getting some other outside linebackers through the draft or free agency, and just kind of getting a little bit younger at that position again. Not that Bobby's, his play hasn't fallen off. He's still, he's a Pro Bowl linebacker still.
170 tackles?
Something ridiculous like that. Yeah, like I think I just saw some linebacker for Atlanta is now leading the league in tackles, but like I said, Bobby got hurt on the first play and didn't play the rest of the game. And then I don't know, I won't even talk about the Russell Wilson saga because we'll be talking about it for the next 4 months, I'm sure.
Yep.
The stories are already coming out. The agent's already leaking crap. So, like I said, I don't know. It may have been his last game. I don't think so. The Seahawks know that they need a star quarterback to win. And you're not going to trade him for another star quarterback. So personally, I think he stays. But like I said, we'll talk about it next week and the week after that, the week after that, and the week after that. Probably the entire month of February and the entire month of March. And
that reminds me of when we first started this podcast, right up until the start of September.
Yeah, we're getting deja vu, hey?
Yeah.
Right. Other than that,
you're in the win column.
I'm in the win column. Great way to close out the season at home for sure. DK getting those 3 touchdowns. Rashaad Penny led me to a fantasy football championship. So double win there, like you said. Definitely no complaints about this game. And like I said, I don't want to hear, the Lions don't care. Good teams should beat bad teams.
It's a win. Yeah.
It's a win.
Also, I agree with you. Score as many points as you want on a team. If you don't like, and I said this when Cincinnati, was racking up points on the Ravens. If you don't like it, stop them. That nowhere in the game does it say you have to ease up because of certain things. I don't care.
Well, I will say one nice thing about Detroit.
Okay.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is phenomenal. He was fun to watch. He was all over the field. It seemed like every time a receiver caught the ball, it was him.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
And he's catching balls from Jared Goff. So
not even. It was Tim Boyle yesterday.
Yeah, it was Tim Boyle. That's right.
Yeah.
He should be exciting to watch. All right, let's move on to everyone's favorite segment of the week, the third down segment, brought to you by Bad Tattoo Kelowna. What do you have for us this week, Chris?
Yeah, the third down is back once again, and once again, it is presented by Dad. God damn it.
Bad Tattoo.
Bad Tattoo Brewing in Kelowna, BC. Everyone's talking about dry February. I say forget that. Go to badtattoobrewing.com, sign up for the Bad Tattoo Beer Club, and get some of that damn good beer shipped directly to your doorstep all across Canada. The NFL playoffs are coming up, guys. You don't want to be parched and losing your voice because you're screaming at your TV too much. Make sure you get some beer, keep yourself hydrated so you can yell at your TV all day to drive your wife crazy.
Okay, 2 things about that. You said dry February. It's January, so let's figure out what we're going to drink in January before we...
Did I say... No, I said January.
No, you're going to listen back to it, and you're going to be like, damn, he was right.
I'm going to have to go back and check the tape.
I got the email of what they're delivering. Did you get it?
The winter pack?
Mixed pack of my favorite, the peanut butter chocolate porter, the oat milk stout that we've been talking about recently, one that you were raving about, the red plum winter sour.
That was really good.
This one is the one that's really got my attention. Counterflow's Uncommon Grounds coffee lager. A big fan of coffee lagers, so there's just I like coffee stouts and things like that, but when you do coffee lagers, they're kind of lighter. I feel like you get more of that authentic coffee flavor out of it. And if we know anything about Bad Tattoo, we know that they're going to be using real ingredients. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe we'll have to call Ryan up and ask him. I'm guessing they just put the whole coffee bean right in the brew. maybe our buddy Jake Vogel, if he's listening and watching, he can comment since he's our resident brewmaster. He can tell us how that would work, but probably just straight up coffee beans in there. So make sure you get that winter pack before maybe the snow goes away and it's not winter anymore.
I don't feel like the snow's going anywhere. We're supposed to get like another 25 centimeters this week.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. But that's okay.
At least my new house that I moved to, I like downsized in terms of not my house. My house I upsized, but my driveway I downsized by like 1,000%. Like, I was shoveling. I'm like, I'm already done. Like, I don't want to go back inside yet.
The kids are in there.
I'm just gonna hang out here and pretend I'm still shoveling.
But yeah, guys, go to badtattoobrewing.com. Like I said, sign up for the Bad Tattoo Beer Club. Get that beer shipped right to your doorstep with your freshly shoveled driveway all across Canada.
That's right.
This week for the third down. Now, last week on the third down, I don't know if you guys remember, but it ended in a bit of a fight.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Steve felt like it was unfair that I went off script and didn't give him the first down. And I say he needs to come with a better team next time.
Wow.
So
didn't Jake call you out last week too, saying I should have gotten it?
No, actually, I didn't hear from Jake.
Oh, maybe not. Okay, you're still a cheater, so I'm ready for I'm already fired up.
So this week for the third down, I mean, we all know last week we talked about snow day activities, and I told Steve the right answer was it's too cold, stay inside. So this week for the third down, Steve, it's still too cold, stay inside.
Okay, I don't know what that theme is, but I'm ready for it.
It's, I guess we'll call it the things that you would do on a cold winter's day rather than going outside and playing in the snow. So
okay,
it's cold outside. I don't want to go out there. I just want to stay inside and stay cozy. So it's like I said, it's the too cold, stay inside battle. Third down, presented by Bad Tattoo Kelowna. Steve, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this thing.
All right, first matchup. We have read a book versus building a puzzle.
I feel like you're setting me up for this. Like, oh, the teacher better, he teaches English. You better read a book. My kids just got 2 new puzzles on New Year's Day. And they're starting to level up in puzzles. Like before we would do these 12 piecers, 24 piecers. They're up to these 100-piece puzzles. And man, did we have a lot of fun with those. We had a lot, like they're at the age now where Easton still struggles with them a little bit, being a little bit younger than Sienna. But she's starting to figure out, rotating pieces, finding colors and matching those up and trying things and throwing that piece down and finding a different one. And it just keeps us entertained for hours. And it's fun. Like, I know we've talked about this before, but I absolutely love sitting like a creep and just watching my kids do something and just watching their brain work. And you can see the brain like being challenged and worked. And I do love how puzzles challenge my kids. And the right answer is probably read a book. I do enjoy reading, a book, not so much with kids because you can't really get into the book. They interrupt you with things. So for that reason, I'm going to say it's more practical right now to do a puzzle.
I hope your students are listening. If all of you guys heard that, teacher Mr. Steve Fisher said, "Don't read books. Books are bad."
You heard it here first.
We started building a puzzle the other day. I think it was like a 1,000-piece puzzle. And it's one of those ones where it's like, it's got a lot of stars and things like that in it. And like, oh man, those are tough. Like trying to be like, nope, the constellations still don't look right. This piece fits, but it still doesn't look right. And I think Nadine actually ended up packing it up, which if she did, I might be a little upset because we'd made some pretty good progress. And I don't know, I'm not the type of person to start something and give up on it. But
that's the fun thing about puzzles. Like you can come back to that puzzle. You can take a week break from the puzzle and then just, okay, I'm going to do an hour of the puzzle. Like,
yeah,
you heard it here first. Reading bad, but puzzle good. I love things that challenge brains. So like, obviously I love, reading and stuff like that. And I'm a huge promoter of reading actually, but like there's something different about a puzzle where it makes kids think that they're playing when really they're learning. Like that's my ultimate beauty of doing things, is when you can incorporate like deep learning things with having some fun. Like I don't want to do learning things if it's not fun. So yeah, puzzles.
Well, this next matchup, I think I already know your answer. It's playing board games versus watching a movie. And like I said, I probably know your answer because you've never watched a movie a day in your life. But just, for the sake of the listeners, what are you picking in this matchup?
Are there any parameters on, like, are we talking like strictly board games, or are we talking like, can you play cards? Can you...
Nope, let's keep it at board games.
Just board games. Okay, I do really like board games. I actually do prefer board games that take a long time. I know some people, the classic Monopoly game where you're like, God, we're like 6 hours into this game and nobody's done a damn thing, and somebody flips the board. I actually prefer those kind of board games where you have to like really invest some time in it. But despite what Chris thinks, ladies and gentlemen, I love movies. I love watching a lot of movies. If you've been listening to us lately, Chris is the one who hasn't seen a lot of movies or doesn't remember them. I'm picking movies. And our homie Ted Wong comes in with more bad takes. He was throwing around some bad food takes earlier in a Twitter conversation. He says picking or playing board games, Hun DP. You're wrong, unless it's Christmas Vacation. Yeah, I'm picking watching a movie.
All right, guys. So don't read books. Don't play board games. Just watch movies. Hear that?
Don't read book, watch movie.
Book bad, movie good. Next one, we have playing video games. Which, I mean, teacher Fisher probably loves video games versus building a fort.
Oh, well, as a teenager and like early to late child, I was a huge video game person. I video games were really starting to emerge when we, not I, were kind of like, I don't know, in grade 1, 2 kind of range. Like they started really picking up when like, Super Nintendo came up, or like Sega Genesis before that. But old person me does not play a lot of video games ever. So it's a tough one though, because I have so many nostalgic memories of playing so many video games. I love building forts. Forts to me are like your introduction to building houses. There we go, Ted. Ted comes in at building a fort. I agree. I love building forts. I love destroying forts. The best thing about building a fort is destroying it so you can build it in a different way. And you can make tunnels, and you can make it like big enough to stand up in. And that turns into like, as kids get older and they're like too big for building forts with, like Ted says, couch cushions and blankets. That turns into like, doing a treehouse with your kids and stuff like that. So I'm going to pick building a fort.
Okay.
And that's probably going to be a very unpopular opinion with some of our younger listeners to the Ballhawks podcast, for sure.
This guy likes to build forts.
Yeah.
For our last matchup, then we have, stay inside, have a nap, cozy up, maybe turn on the fireplace, go crawl into bed, fall asleep on the couch. I'm really good at having that couch nap. I probably have a couch nap once a day on my days off. versus working out. And now, I mean, this could be a 1-person workout. It could be a 2-person workout if you're so inclined. Whatever you fancy that day, whatever your wife fancies that day, I guess.
This is a tough one for me because I am like mega into working out. It's kind of like it's my church. It's my therapy. It's where I go when I need to be me. But I'm such a huge proponent of taking naps. I'm reading a book right now, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Naps are so incredibly important to your overall health. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing like when you are exhausted and you just get like a good 45-minute nap in. Naps actually saved me in university. I learned, I did a lot of research on naps and how effective they are and how you should actually nap. So I would actually time my naps so they were most effective. But like Ted just said, picking heavy stuff up and putting heavy stuff down, it's not a stretch to say probably has saved my life. It's literally like I said, it's my church. It's my place where I can go to be me, where I can like just be alone with myself, my thoughts, and improve my physical fitness, but also improve my mental fitness. And yeah, I'm just such a huge proponent of working out. I know it's not the answer you would pick, but I'm picking working out.
So you prefer the 1-person workout over the 2-person workout?
Well, we're keeping the show PG, so I'm talking about good old-fashioned 1-person workouts.
Keeping those wrists strong.
Picking heavy things up and putting them back down, okay? Just like Ted said.
All right. Let's recap your choices here. Let's see if you can actually pull off a first down this week. So we have for Steve's It's Too Cold, Get Outside, 3rd down. We have building a puzzle, watching a movie, building a fort, and working out. Steve, what is your It's Too Cold, Stay Inside MVP?
Well, if you were listening to me through that whole thing, which you probably weren't, it's a no-brainer for me. I'm going for the workout. All of those things are good in their time and place. They're very mood dependent, I find, but I would say the workout is the number one for me. And I know I'm not getting the first down for that, but I don't care.
I'm not surprised that was your choice. I mean, I always like to say like, oh, look, I feel like I know your choice here. And you're always like, and you like throw in like a bit of a curveball, but the Dikembe, like not this week. But yeah, after you just talked for the last 20 minutes about how much you enjoy 1-person workouts. I wasn't surprised that you chose that as your MVP. And Steve, you were actually really close this week to getting the first down. You had the answer; it was right there for you.
Oh,
but we all know you've never watched a movie a day in your life.
I knew it was going to be that. I knew you were picking that. Ted's awarded me the first down, though, and really he's the ref of this. So I think I might throw the challenge flag and ask Ted.
Ted's not a part of this show. Bye, Ted. Blocked.
Ted's getting muted again.
Well, I actually can block him if I wanted. I'll put user in timeout on YouTube.
Ted, you're going on a timeout for that one.
Yeah, you're not a part of this show, man.
That's so funny. All right. Well, I didn't get the first down again, but my message, 1-person workouts, good for you. 2-person workouts are good for you too.
Great for your cardio.
Great for your cardio. Sometimes. Ted, it's true. We're at the hour and a half marker, so we're going to wrap this up. Thanks everybody for joining in episode 45. We're almost at the half century marker here, Chris. And as always, I am going to give you the last words of the show. I don't know why I keep doing this after you don't give me the first downs, but I'm a sucker for punishment. So
I just put Ted in timeout. He's blocked for 5 minutes. That's what you get for saying suck it, Chris. Yeah, guys, thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Ball Hawks podcast. We are, of course, a part of the Dean Blundell Network. We are proudly sponsored by Bad Tattoo Kelowna for our third down segment. Please give us a follow over on Twitter at ballhawks_pod. You can find us over on Instagram and Facebook as well. Follow me at PhillipsChris12 on Twitter. Steve, you can find him at SSFisher87. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page. What are you doing? Pointing.
I got it right this time.
Subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcast. The episode will be out shortly. And as always, guys, go Hawks.
Peace.